so let's talk about Bermuda control for a little bit. You can hear my guy, he's blowing acorns up. I'm gonna tell you, this has been the heaviest acorns I've ever seen in my 44 years in this world. Everybody's saying the persimmon seeds are all spoons. I think we're gonna have a doozy of a winter. But get to the point. So this whole patch right here became Bermuda. So at this point, renovation is the only possible feasible option. We sprayed it 3 times, every 2 weeks, 3 separate applications, start at the end of July. And if you look, I've just ran the Ventrac with the aerator. I've broken the soil real good, but look at all of this green that it brought up in the process. Okay? See? The camera will focus for us. I'm gonna now spray this a 4th time with Roundup before I seed it, because I've got so much green. This goes to show you how the proper strategy to deal with Bermuda must be devised. Most of the time, the 3 applications work. I can tell you this year, for whatever reason, that has not proven to be the case very well. This is the 3rd yard this year. This is October 12th, I think, of 2022. And this is what I've been greeted with on just about every situation with Bermuda. It has just blown my mind. And as you can tell, if I don't kill all that, then I'm going to have it come back. Now, another thing to explain in this is we're going to hit it pretty hard. We're going to knock it down pretty hard, but we're not going to kill all of it. Again, you can see by the green just right there. So now the next part of the strategy is going to be that we seed this as heavy as we possibly can with fescue, and I use a fescue blend with a Kentucky bluegrass blend, so I've got about 8 different cultivars in the mix. And since I cut this yard, I will be cutting this yard starting in April, or whenever it needs cutting. I will only cut it at 4.5 inches, because just like the woods, all right, and here's a great example for us to go by. All right, if you look over right here where the sun gets in, you can see a lot of underbrush. But when you get over here where it's shaded, you see very, very little of that underbrush. You know, you've seen this many a time when they cut timber, you got all the brambles and stuff. And then after about 10, 15 years, it gets to looking like this. Well, the same thing applies in your yard in a microclimate. And in this term, micro meaning a much smaller climate. We want to shade this Bermuda so that when it becomes active, typically around the first part of May, it has to compete as hard as it can to get sunlight, to photosynthesize, and to bring itself out of dormancy. Right now, we have starved this plant now for going on 3 months, and we're going to continue to starve it through the winter because it cannot no longer photosynthesize. It can no longer produce food. So when it comes out of the gate next year, it is already in a severely weakened state. It would be very similar to, let's say that you had some type of cancer. You went through a serious bout of radiation, you know, typically weeks, let's say 20 weeks of radiation. Your immune system is completely and totally compromised. You have none. So now if I bring a guy over with a common cold and let him breathe on you, chances are it may or may not kill you, but it's going to come very close because you have no immune system to bounce back from it until it has a chance to build. Apply that analogy to what we're saying here. We have starved this plant so much that once it comes out of the gate next spring with the 4.5 inch mowing height, there's not going to be a lot of energy store in there for it to compete with that 4.5 inches of grass. So a lot of it is not going to be able to peek through. What does peek through, we will start hitting with tenacity first. And we'll use tenacity to just basically keep suppressing it and keeping it weak. Again, we do not want it to build that immune system, if you will, again. Then come around here, it's typically the first to second week of September. We begin the first of 3 3-week applications over 9 weeks with Pilex. A lot of people tell you Pilex doesn't work. Well, that's because they don't know how to apply it correctly. If you do not apply it in those 9 weeks before frost hits it and starve that plant, because that's how it works. It starves the plant. It doesn't kill it. It takes the chlorophyll out so that it cannot photosynthesize food and store it over the winter. That will continue to dwindle the population of this in the fescue and allow the fescue to overcompete with it. So that is the 411 on how you strategize dealing with Bermuda. Some people actually refer to it as alpha grass, and that's probably not a bad reference or association with it, because it is very, very, very dominant, extremely progressive. I've seen runners run 3-4 feet across asphalt from a curb because people don't keep the edges cut. It is just unreal what common wild Bermuda is capable of doing. But if you take the things that we've discussed in this video, understand how it is that it works, understand how chemicals such as Pilex and even tenacity for that matter, Fuselade is the same way, you can come up with a very decisive and effective strategy that works extremely well for this. And once you understand that, you will find that dealing with Bermuda grass really isn't no more complicated than anything else, other than the fact you have to have more of a strategy with it than what you do with, say, clover or your broadleaf weeds. So I hope this is going to help a lot of you. I see a lot of questions about Bermuda on the GCI Turf Academy. I see a lot of the questions come to me. The reason you do not see me as active on these questions is because we've got enough people now, especially in the GCI Turf Academy, that have already heard the spills from myself and Pete about how we deal with these things. And it's gotten to the point now that you got enough people in there that the learner becomes the teacher and can teach what they learn, and it just helps out better with people. It gives them something to be proud of. So the only time I typically respond now is when it gets to something real complex, or if I see something that maybe needs a little more clarification or needs a little more guidance. I do still get involved with the soil corrections. That's my claim to fame, and I do that when I see it. But if you ever have a question and I haven't responded, just simply tag me. Wherever you see this, just simply tag me and I'll respond to it as quickly as I possibly can. Hope you enjoyed the info.